We're live. Me and Blair
We
are live.
are.
Me and
And I
Blair
need
are
my
live.
alcohol.
So none of you are watching right now, but when you do, ask questions here. Let's leave them a little post so they can ask us.
Now it's a romantic.
Now it's all romantic.
We
for
got
us.
romantic lights around us.
Ask us anything here. You have Blair for how long do you want to go for, Blair?
For half an hour.
Blair for 30 plus minutes. Make the most of her.
Ask me any questions, guys.
Make the most of her. There you are. So now they know they can ask us anything here. They have you for 30 minutes.
Okay.
And they can make the most of you.
All right. And they can see this video at any time.
Yeah. So like this live stream, so anyone can tune in live.
Okay.
And then afterwards, after about 10 minutes, it'll be posted up so people can watch it from the start.
All right. Perfect. Sounds great. So, hi, everybody. I'm Blair. I'm a very good friend of Sam's.
Yes.
And I've been living in London City for the past 6 years.
London City.
London City.
Like New York City.
Like New York City, kind of like Sex and the City.
Like
And
Sex in the City as well.
literally, that's how my life has been since I moved to London. So many interesting dating experiences in the last 6 years of my life. Experiences which I didn't have back in my home country because men were.
What's your home country?
So,
I know. I mean, I'm doing this for
of
the
course,
sake of this.
yeah. So I'm born in India and I was raised in Kuwait, which is Arabic country right next to Dubai. Very cultural, traditional, and committed kind of men. Very different than the guys in London, to be honest.
Okay, so what's the major difference between men in Kuwait and men in London?
I would say men in London are way more interesting, way more colorful. We got way more things here, right? Like we're just seeing each other, we're casually dating. It's a situationship. It's an exclusive thing. Maybe it's not a relationship, but in Kuwait, it's very simple. A boy meets girl, and potentially it's like, yeah, so when are we getting married now?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of arranged stuff like family arrangements? One family knows another family. They both have good surnames. Like throw the children together.
Yeah, that happens too. I mean, more at a later age. I would say that happens more at the age after 27, 30, not at my age. At my age, they still have a calm, casual dating culture there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what culture do you prefer? Do you prefer the more like we're dating only to marry, like it's important, it's a big deal in Kuwait, or that was in Kuwait, right?
Yeah.
Or the like casual London, anything goes, go with the flow, whatever happens, happens.
I don't know. I wish there was like a middle ground where I could have the freedom of exploring a relationship with a guy without any rules and regulations, where we kind of just make our own rules and see where it goes, but at the same time have that end point that at some point obviously we have to commit forever, like kind of like work towards that direction in a way, because I feel like people here, especially like a lot of the guys I have seen, they're just going girls to girls. They have no idea what they want. They have no idea who they want to be with. They don't know what they want in their life or what they want from the girl. They're just confused and they don't even care to find who they are and who they want to be with. So I would say
Somewhere in between.
somewhere in middle. But I'm
Right,
just
but-
really here to talk more about my interesting dating stories.
Yeah, but that's kind of a curious point that you just brought up, because in London, people kind of tend to keep it casual, but you're saying that you want a sort of relationship where it is chilled, it's casual, you can still do your own thing, but there is an end in mind.
Exactly.
Like for you, do you think of dating as like dating for marriage, or do you think of it as like just dating for fun, or is it kind of some mix of both? Like,
So I'm not gonna lie, when I came to London, I was only 17. So for the first few years, I was looking to just explore, because obviously London's filled with different cultures and men from different countries. So I had this thing in my mind where I wanted to date a guy from like a lot of different countries to understand a lot of different cultures, because honestly, dating a French guy has been very different than dating a Spanish guy, than dating an Indian guy. So I just wanted to date guys from all over the world and see which cultures I blend in the most. And I think I've actually found that I associate myself more with guys from some countries than other countries. And now I kind of have narrowed down that list of guys, or the list of countries I would want to date
Really?
guys from, literally, yeah.
okay, Blair, so what's your top 3 countries to date from?
I think the first would be like a Mediterranean country.
A what?
A Mediterranean country.
Mediterranean.
Mediterranean,
Very good.
yeah. say something like Greece or Croatia, Cyprus. So one of those, because I feel like they have a bit more of a conservative culture, but at the same time they're just like warm, friendly people, and they have a beach and sunlight. That's amazing for me. My second would be Spanish, because I'm learning Spanish. I love reggaeton, the Latin, the salsa, bachata kind of culture. I actually love reggaeton way more than I enjoy an English or English songs in general. So
Okay.
I'd absolutely love to live in Barcelona.
Right. So are you deciding, like, if you meet a guy who's outside of one of those cultures, what are the cultures? What are maybe the countries that you've had bad experiences with that you find more difficult or challenging to get on with?
I don't know. I'd rather not say, because it could come across as offensive to those countries.
It's not going to be offensive. It's just interesting because, like, well, you can't. It's impossible for you to be racist on here. So go on.
Yeah, just to say, this is not a racist thing. I have friends from literally.
You're not allowed to be. You can't be racist. It's not racist.
Okay, so I have friends
it's
from
your experience, right?
It's just my experience. I mean, I have friends from all over the world, but when it comes to dating, I wouldn't date guys from a certain country. So I would say maybe British. I would
You don't date British guys.
I don't like dating British guys, and I live in London.
Blair.
And I love British people in general. They're sophisticated, they're diplomatic, and very cultural. And I wouldn't want to date them because of all of those reasons exactly, because I feel like they're a bit too diplomatic sometimes. Like, I want a guy who's a bit more straightforward, like an American, who can tell me to my face how things are. Oh my God, I remember I had a huge crush on this British colleague of mine. And he comes up to me one day and he's like, no one should be too perfumed for any reason. I'm like, excuse me? He's like,
perfumed.
No one should be too perfumed for any reason. I prefer a natural essence. I'm like, I'm sorry, what are you trying to say? And what he was really trying to say is that, because I was wearing an Arabic perfume, oud, I'm sure most of you know it, which is really strong. And when he sits next to me, it was bothering him because it was way too strong. Maybe he was allergic or just didn't like the smell. But it took him months to come and have this conversation with me, and he could have just said it in a straightforward way, like, hey, can you wear a lighter perfume, please? It's not offensive. I would have done it for you.
Absolutely hilarious.
Literally.
You sat next to a guy
Yeah.
and he told you that your perfume was too strong. That's not very diplomatic, though. That's actually pretty fucking out there. To be fair, if I was sat next to you, I was like, Blair, your perfume's too strong, that would be normal because we have that kind of thing. But if I didn't know you and I was just like, your perfume's too strong, can you wear a lighter perfume?
Yeah, but the thing is, me and him were very close colleagues. Like, we hung out outside work and we spent a lot of time. We texted. So he was a close friend. He could have told me. But yeah, that's my issue with, like, British guys in general. I feel like they're a bit too diplomatic, and I struggle to have conversations with them because I feel like there's so much social politics going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did we meet there? How did we first meet?
How did we meet? So actually, Sam used to have a huge crush on and used to date my best friend, actually. So it was my birthday, and I was looking for a club to go to. And Sam was kind enough to hook me up to a very posh club.
Not really you, it was your friend.
Well, my friend, because he was trying on my friend.
you were going. They were going to Tiger, and for anybody that knows Tiger, it's the hellhole with the worst ratios in the country. And
they have reggaeton music, though, guys.
Yeah, and I said you cannot go to that place. There's a better place. And then so I took you to Dolce in South Kensington, and then I met you, and then we were dancing together before you found out who I was
dancing with every guy, just so you know, not just him.
No, it was me because I'm British.
Very drunk.
It was British. It goes against your previous point.
I had 2 big bottles of vodka because they gave us a lot of free vodka that night, because I brought in a bunch of pretty girls in with me.
You did bring a bunch of pretty girls and a bunch of slightly rude chaps, actually. One of them treated me like the waiter, which I wasn't happy about, but you know how it is.
Well,
the girls were lovely.
Girls were lovely. Girls were very pretty. So yeah, that's how I met Sam.
All right, I'm going to hit you with one of the questions that we prepared. What was it? How's it's one of these. How's your love life? How's your love life now, Blair?
How's my love life?
Yeah, how's your love life?
That's a good question. So I recently got out of a serious relationship, I would say, and ever since I have been single and been on a few dates with a few nice, interesting guys. Guys I kind of liked and kind of saw future with, but yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm still out there looking. and yeah, just trying to find the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the past, where have you looked? Like, what's been the typical way? Like, let's say when I
Mhm.
started getting to know you like 3 or 4 months ago,
Okay.
where would you generally meet guys?
So I would say like 3 to 4 months ago, or even like 5 6 months ago, especially during COVID time, I wasn't really getting out of my house much, and I was living in a flat in central London just with a friend, and I was using a lot of dating apps to meet guys.
Which
Mainly
ones?
Hinge, because
Right.
Hinge is supposed to be a dating app for like relationships. At least that's what they say. Um, but yeah, I didn't really. It was like I was meeting a new guy every 3 months on this dating
Every
apps, and
3 months.
every 3 months, yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah.
You went on one date every 3 months?
Yeah, because I'd meet a guy, go on a date, it would last for 3 months, and then
Right. Okay.
and then it wouldn't work out, and then I realized at the end of the day that the guys that I got from Hinge were hot, right? They were good looking, like a lot of them with shirtless pictures, like abs. A lot of them with like very interesting travel stories, because that's the key thing for me. Like the guy should be well traveled, because I'm an international, well traveled person. So someone with like stories of scuba diving, skydiving, these kind of things. Very good looking, like a successful entrepreneur or like a rich investment banker. And I feel like maybe these guys are high in demand because I think they were dating multiple girls at the same
Right.
time. And I feel like this is the issue with dating apps. So I went around and I'm like, guys, show me your phone. Like not to the guys I was dating, but my friends in general. And I'm like, I want to see your Hinge. And I see their Hinge, and I'm like, they're texting 25 girls at the same time, like properly texting. And I'm the kind of person who hates texting in general. Like I can barely text one guy at a time because it's exhausting to text someone. So I'm just like, oh my god, is this what guys do? Like text 25
Right,
girls at the
but-
same time?
Okay, so but when you'd go on Hinge, like let's
Oh.
say you'd go on Hinge, you'd see a guy shirtless who just looks like polished and everything's good, and then you go on a date with him. Did those dates go well? Like you say, you like went on one every 3 months, and then you ended up seeing him. Did that happen every time? There must have been some duds where you're just like, this guy's like empty or he's not cool.
To be honest, there were some very good dates and some very bad dates. So the very bad dates is more of a catfish situation, I would say, where the guy is actually like 30 years old, but
Yeah.
his photos were from when he was 21.
Really?
Yeah, and that happened to me once. So this guy looked a bit like Boris Johnson, which is a funny part, like blonde, curly hair, blue eyes. His photos were very good. He looked very cute in his photos. And then when I met him in real life, I remember I came with his dog. It was in Hyde Park, and he looked 10 years older than his photos. And I found that like a catfish. I mean, if he just posted his real photos, I would have accepted it. But the fact that it was all a lie and a catfish situation, I literally spoke to him for 20 minutes and left. And then I got a long message from him that night asking me, why did you leave so early? I think that was very rude of you to just, I was planning to date for a week. I traveled from far away and you literally left in 20 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, because you didn't look like your photos. And I'm not sorry for that. That's completely on you and it's your fault.
He was catfishing you all along, Blair.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you tried dating apps, and then when you were on dating apps, and became sort of friends, I would get annoyed at it, wouldn't I? Like I just
Yeah.
got annoyed. I get annoyed with everyone being on dating apps just because I think they're a horrendous like excuse for humankind. I just think it's a terrible way for everything to go. But like, what was that kind of conversation like? Because as I remember it, I was like, look, on dating apps, you're going for the guys that every other girl is going for because they look good. These guys, you know nothing about their personality. If there's like the top 5% of guys in looks and 5% in personality, those two aren't necessarily correlated. And like these good looking guys might have absolutely nothing to their personality, no confidence, no drive. Like they haven't been through anything important in their lives. So what happened after you like did dating apps for a while?
To be honest, I would say those were my bad experiences, but that was a good experience. I met this British, Russian, Bulgarian, was a very mixed guy, international guy, on a dating app once. He kind of worked in sales as well. And our first date was in Chelsea, in a bar. And because he worked in sales and I work in sales, we were speaking for 3 hours and we connected so much because we worked in the same industry, so we had a lot to talk about, but also because we both traveled. So we had...
You're just talking about sales.
We're talking about sales, but I am
Sounds
a passionate salesperson. So if I meet someone from sales who's
Right.
good at his job,
Yeah.
I would love to talk to him about that. And we was just sharing like funny incidents with our clients. It was like a very funny date night, but also like stupid things we have done during our travel. So I really connected with him, and I was like, wow, I love this guy. He's perfect. Like he has to be the one. First date was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and then second date was all right, because so we kept going on dinner dates, and then the third date, when we went out for dinner, I felt like we had nothing to talk about. We had no conversation. It just felt like forced conversation. It felt more like a forced interview, because it feels like okay, we connect very well, we have the same kind of personality, but in the end of the day, there's no background, like how we met. There's no story behind it. There's no like common friends or common background or common denominator here. Like we're just like strangers talking about random stuff. So I feel like, in my experience on dating apps, my first and second dates are very exciting, because I'm trying to understand, like, hey, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? But from the third date, when I already know everything about them, I don't know what else to talk to them about.
Right. From my perspective, I would say that that's their fault, because if you're on a date with a woman as a man, and I think as a woman for a man as well, but basically the guy's only and first intention should be to learn everything about you. Because if a guy's asking you questions that he's interested in learning about you get to talk about yourself, and that's kind of intrinsically enjoyable for most women. And B, it just shows that he's like caring and smart and sort of present, and he doesn't need to talk about himself. So if your third date got boring because you had nothing to talk about, then that's on him for not like trying to understand you and trying to figure out who you are and what you're about and everything like that.
Yeah.
So has that been a recurring theme, or have you gone on any dates where the guy has actually like really tried to learn about you, asked you interesting questions, kind of you haven't even thought about the world and your job and the normal surroundings, you're just kind of wrapped up in like that moment and the kind of the energy of it, like he's smiling at you and you're talking about things in your life and he's getting to know you and time just passes?
To be honest, that's the thing about dating apps. Like I have been out with lots of like cute, eligible young men on dating apps, but I don't think they really know me. It's all been very like superficial conversations about things like politics, COVID, about the world. Like I genuinely don't think any of them knew anything about me and what I really am. So yeah, I would say that I have issues connecting with guys I met on dating apps. So in my experience, it's been a bit of a fail. But I do at the same time I do have a lot of close friends and best friends who have found love on dating apps, and they have been in relationships with these guys for 3-4 years now. So clearly it does work for some people. But I've checked the probability and it's like 19% chance. So
Yeah, the probabilities are the lowest on dating apps. And I think very often what you see on the outside of a relationship isn't actually what's going on the inside. You know, like people can seem very, very happy and everything seems to be going well, but behind closed doors, one of them maybe has more power or they're codependent in some way. And they're like, there's some sort of toxic dependency on one another. I think all of that's kind of exaggerated with dating apps because you're both in the first place in a place seeking something that you can't find in the real world. So I don't know. I think that they're kind of fundamentally flawed because the very fact of going on them means that you're kind of fucked up and it's not happening in a natural way.
I mean, yeah, I would say that if you're going on dating apps, obviously it's like there is you're not finding you're unable to meet new people in your normal social circles or events, right? That maybe you're not an extrovert, or even I would say in London, it's like even if we go out, where do we go, right? Like bars and clubs, and it's like most of the guys I meet in bars and clubs just want a one night stand.
Yeah.
So meeting someone I really connect with has to be among my friend circle, like in the daytime when we do activities and events. And I feel like because of this culture in London where everybody just wants to like go and drink and party and have fun, you can never find someone, you can't find the one in a drunk environment. And I think this is another thing I don't like about London culture. And I feel like that's why a lot of girls have to depend on dating apps, because they don't want to meet a guy in a club and a pub. So I completely understand why they want to meet somebody there.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I understand
But wait, don't you think, so you talk about London culture, but don't you think that, I mean, if you think of like Saudi Arabia or like maybe Dubai or somewhere like that, it could be even harder because it's like, you know, maybe women are covering up, maybe they don't know even if they're allowed to express interest in a guy. Like, do you think that that's more of a global problem as well? Because like what cultures, maybe Spain, Brazil, where you can actually just go out, like go to a class, go to a yoga class. Maybe that's not like a London specific thing, but like you're right, it's kind of hard to meet people in casual daytime environments. So Blair, where have we gone together? Like such environments where you might be able to meet a guy.
Okay, there are lots of back-to-back questions. I mean, first thing,
Right.
I think in Middle East, no woman has to cover herself anymore. That's very outdated. Women in Middle East just dress like women in London now.
All of them?
Yes, I mean that it's their choice, but no one has to dress that way anymore. Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Nowhere. It's changed now. All those rules have been lifted
What
a
about
long time ago.
Egypt?
I don't know about Egypt. Egypt is not Middle East. They consider themselves Africans.
They are
Um,
Africans, yeah.
um,
I think in some parts of the world, women still have. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think in some parts of the world, women still have to by law wear the.
I mean, they don't have to. They want to, but they don't have to by law because those laws have been lifted now.
All right, we're getting sidetracked, aren't we?
Yeah, and the point is like, yeah. So back at home, I would say that. I mean, I used to live in a very small country where kind of like everybody knew everybody. So I can't comment on big cities like Dubai. In Kuwait, it was more like everybody knew everybody. So when I would walk on the streets, like I knew everybody in my town, literally like at least 1,000 people. um so it was very easy. Also, I would say like my, because I mean I left Kuwait when I was 17, so obviously I lived with my parents, and my mom and my parents were very good at like social events. So we had like big events almost every weekend where we would invite 200 families, so more like 1,000
Right.
people. It'd be in like big parties, big halls, and just like big events. So because we had this very great social circles, I never had to use dating apps. I would meet loads of people just through
Right, that makes
like
sense.
social circles. And also because also like everyone I would meet, I would know everything about them because it's a very gossipy place where everyone knows everything about everyone, which I think works in a good way. In a bad way, it's like everyone knows everything about you. Like you don't have that privacy, but at the same time it's like I would know everything about a guy, his past, what kind of person he is, what kind of family he's from, his who all he has dated, is he serious, is he committed. So that kind of puts the social pressure on them to be good, because if they do something bad, they would be socially kind of like punished
Yeah.
for it. But I feel like in London, because it's a big city, I feel like it's also an isolated city. Like if I'm sitting in Canary Wharf, I don't know what my friends are doing in Hammersmith, and even if they are say doing something wrong, say cheating on someone, or being unfaithful to someone, it's highly likely that I wouldn't know because it's a very big city and people generally don't gossip a lot here, I feel.
Yeah.
So I feel like they would never pay a social price for their social crimes kind of
That
situation.
makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
you're saying like in a small city, kind of the old-fashioned way, there is like a social pressure for people to behave in a way that's ethically okay, and you know about people and people know about each other, so everyone kind of has to like go by the norms and actually behave well. Whereas here we're like a kind of a godless
Yeah.
society
Literally, yeah.
where anything goes, and so like both men and women can get away with anything. They can get away with having one night stands, pretending to be someone they're not, fucking around.
Yeah, literally, like even in my own circles, I feel like there have been my friends who have been unfaithful or who have cheated or who who have said lies about themselves and been dishonest, but they were never looked down upon or questioned for their actions. I feel like when you in this country where you physically hurt someone, like if I go and punch someone, that wouldn't be socially accepted. 10 people will come and question me. But if I go and break up with someone for very stupid reasons, for absolutely stupid reasons, or break someone's heart, there are no questions asked. So I feel like there's less accountability in this country as well. And I feel like we all need to start asking questions like, why are people behaving in a certain way? If someone does something wrong, like cheat or lie or dishonest, why aren't we questioning that person and telling him that's not okay and you need to like stop?
Yeah, I mean, but I guess people expand to the boundaries that are set for them, right? So if there are no social repercussions, people are just going to do that.
Exactly.
So that maybe is the problem.
I mean, I think that goes for me as well, right? Like back at home, I would only date one guy at a time because I know I'd get caught. Second, if I do get caught, I would be shamed, and that's wrong, and no one would want to date me after that because I lose my credibility.
One
But
at a time.
one
How
at a
many
time.
at a time now?
I don't know. I mean, still, I mean, right now it's nobody, but it's like still, right? Like if I had the chance, if I see three very cute, eligible guys, I would date all three at the same time because it's like, who's gonna ask? Who has a problem with that?
So they ask you on a date, and you're like, "Do you mind if my friends come?"
Because it's like in London, it's like, hey, like casual relationships are really common.
Yeah.
You're not even supposed to be exclusive before the first 6 months of relationship.
Mhm.
So it's like I would just be a normal person. So it's like it
So
might.
we're all pagans.
We're all pagans.
because
We're all
our
godless in some
We're all
language.
godless heathens because our
Yeah.
society allows it.
Our society allows it. I think our
Right.
society needs to put some rules down, don't we?
I agree, Blair. I think that was actually all very intelligently put. I appreciate that. So what have we done to try and solve it? Because Tinder's shit. Hinge is depressing. We all know it's depressing. clubs and bars are the most godless places of all. So what are the solutions? And I'm not asking you because I don't know, but like in terms of where we've been together and what we've discussed, some of it's been all right, some of it hasn't. Where are like the events or things that you and I have done where there have been opportunities to meet people?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the first thing I would say is that you have to put that pressure on you, because going on a dating app is so easy. If it's on your phone, you're going to use it. So first thing, uninstall dating apps. Have a friend like Sam who's going to keep an eye on you. Every time you use a dating app, he'll call you godless and make you go to a church. And he actually did that. We went to church together because
2 weeks ago
I was acting godless
to find Blair a husband.
to find me a priest, basically.
We didn't find anyone though.
We didn't find anyone though, but I found pretty girls
You
for Sam.
fancied a couple of the girls. You weren't so keen on the chaps. They
Yeah.
were plus 40s crowd, wasn't
I
it?
know. I found very cute girls for Sam. He didn't like anybody though, but
Not my type.
he's being a bit godless now. But yeah, that's the first thing, guys. Delete the dating app. So you have the pressure to actually go out, and you need to force yourself to go out. So when I deleted dating apps, I decided, okay, you know what? Let's get the hell out of my house. I started going back to salsa classes. I used to go salsa back a lot in my uni days, but I stopped since I graduated, and I started going again. I definitely started socializing more. We have lots of social circles in my environment, so lots of clubs in my society, in my complex that I live in, that we can join. So I started playing ping pong. I started attending more parties. I started going to jiu-jitsu class with Sam.
How was jiu-jitsu? You came for like 4 sessions.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fun. I mean, it's something different to do, right? Just to get out of your house. I think going to gym just gives you that discipline. Just that discipline, and honestly, just a different perspective.
And you had a couple of guys interested in you, but then again, this will move us actually on to the next part, which is some of the weird ways that guys behave when they do have a chance. So after Blair came to the first jiu-jitsu session, I had 2 separate guys in the same session come up and say, "Sam, was that your girlfriend that you brought?" I was like, "No, that's just Blair." And they said,
That's just Blair.
well, she looks interesting. And I was like, okay, well, you can talk to her. Like I gave them your Instagram so that they could talk to you, and neither of them like did anything. So what? That brings us on to the next one. So you've got some experiences where guys like actually have a chance, and they just don't know. Like, what? So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, right? Because I went to this jiu-jitsu class just to watch Sam, and a guy asked him for my number, and that was perfect because when I saw him, I thought he was really cute. And he took my Instagram, I accepted his request, and I was kind of hoping him to ask me out. He didn't text me. I bumped into him again in the jiu-jitsu class a few times, and he was looking at me, he was talking, he was staring and smiling at me from a distance, but he never came up to me and asked me out. So I feel like, obviously, I think sometimes, I don't know why he didn't ask me out. Maybe either he lost interest or either he wasn't confident enough. It could be any one of these
I think
things.
it's the latter.
Could be n number of reasons, really. But I feel like sometimes it's okay to just walk up to a girl and ask her out and be like, "Hey, look, I think you're cute. Would you like to go out for drinks sometime?" It's as simple as that. And most likely, just because of the confidence, just the fact that they actually came up to me and asked me in a very respectful manner, I would say yes and at least give them a chance. Like, I would go on a date. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. But I would at least want to give them a chance because they tried.
Yeah.
And I think that's most girls.
No, I 100% agree. Like, I think a weird kind of, well, not weird, but something that a lot of my clients and the guys that watch this say is like, they're like, "Sam, if a girl seems like she's showing me interest, it makes me even more nervous." Because I think they have almost this pressure that, like, if you like them at the start, then what if they fuck it up? And it almost reflects badly on them if they fuck it up, even when you kind of gave them a chance.
Exactly.
So, like, I think that's probably the case with some of them. So, like, what would you say to the guys who, like, because you also aren't the best at hiding. If you like a guy, you kind of make it obvious. Like,
yeah, I do.
You might not always be aware, but, like, it's kind of obvious when you do. So
I can't play games.
Yes, but often they like you as well. They just don't do anything. So what would be your advice to the guys that, like,
I would say,
are
honestly,
getting interest and they just don't do anything?
It's so weird, right? Because I mean, this brings me back to my some of my dating stories, and I'll keep it brief. So recently, after my breakup, I've met a few guys, right? So one guy, we were at a dinner party. It was one of my close friends' birthday dinner, and I meet this American guy at the dinner, and it's a perfect environment to meet somebody because it's dinner, it's quiet, I can talk to you, my friends are around, you can talk to them too, like. So we started talking. We had such a great time. I felt like he was hilarious and we connected very well. He was mature. We went clubbing together and we kissed, and that was it. And then I gave him my number. And then the next day, I had to go to Puerto Rico. So I went traveling. I was in America, and he kept sending me long paragraphs, like bloody essays, like A4 size essays every day, telling me how his day went, who did he meet, what did he do, what did he eat, like everything. And I was like, fine, you know what? I'm in Puerto Rico. He just wants to tell me how his day went. I went along with it. When I came back to London, I was hoping that he would ask me out because it's like we've been texting a whole week and we clearly met at a dinner party and had a great time. He didn't. He kept sending me long paragraphs over and over and over again. And it was exhausting because it's like, who has the time to write big essays
Yeah.
every day, right? And finally, I started ghosting him because I just stopped replying to his messages because I was offended. I'm like, why are you wasting my time? I wasn't looking for a pen pal. I was looking for a boyfriend. So why didn't you just ask me on a date? So I would say that if you find a girl cute or interesting, just be like, hey, want to go out for dinner? I don't need long essays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But especially in environments like that where you went to, jiu-jitsu, church, we've done like loads of different events with different people. You don't even need to like go up and put everything on the line. Like in jiu-jitsu, if they just come over and said like, hi, what's your name? Like, how are you doing? Oh,
Yeah.
how do you two know each other? To me and you.
Yeah.
And just being cool. Like, I'm not going to get in the way. Like, I'm not going to be, I know you. And so like, you don't even kind of need to put it all on the line like that. He could
Yeah.
just say like, hi, oh, will you come back on Thursday or will you come back on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, nice to meet you. Like, you know, I'll see you next time. Like, I promise I won't beat you up. Or I promise I won't. Just like make it like a little bit of banter and then leave it. And then he doesn't even need to put everything on the line. Like, he can gauge your connection before he asks you out as well.
See, that's the thing. That's one thing I don't like because that brings me to. So recently I was watching FIFA with
Mhm.
some of the guys downstairs, and they were just drinking beer and watching FIFA. And I find this guy incredibly cute. I'm like, oh my god, you're so cute. And I kind of spoke to him. I was like, hey, who are you? Where are you from? Like, what's up? Kind of started a conversation. Funnily, me and Sam bumped into him and his friends up at the swimming pool again. And I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to get to know him. So I started to speak with him at the swimming pool, and I made the move because I felt like he's a bit shy. So we don't mind making the first move, right? But you just need to get it that I'm making a move here. Um, when I started speaking with him at the swimming pool, Sam left, his friends left. It was just me and him, and we were talking for like
On
two.
purpose, with design. I saw what was developing. I made myself scarce.
Yeah, and for the next 2 hours, it was just me and him talking.
Yeah.
He asked me a few times to go out with him. And I was like, this is great. I gave him my number. He asked me for my number. I gave him my number. Thing is, he asked me on a date a few times, but he never really said like a place, time, venue, like, okay, let's go here at this time, that
Yeah.
place. And then I kept bumping into him again and again because we have mutual friends. And every time he keeps asking me out, and every time I say yes, but he never puts a date, time, and venue in place. And I feel like, okay, he's flirting with me, he's talking to me, maybe he's showing interest, but what's the point? Because it's like if someone else asks me out, I'm gonna say yes to that guy because it's like I feel a bit offended now that you clearly like me and I clearly like you, but nothing's developing here.
Yeah, it's kind of offended, but I'd also say it's just like a bit unattractive because it's like if you're a guy, why do you have time to be messaging someone like over and over again with zero intention of making anything happen? It'd be much more attractive if he just wanted to make something happen
Yeah.
and like he just kind of made that like easy for you and him to just be like a little bit of banter, say a joke, and then invite you out somewhere on a date at a time, see if you're available and figure it out. It's almost like unattractive
It is
as a
very
guy
unattractive.
to just be like vague, to be in that indecisive, like, oh, how's your day going? Da-da-da. It's like, what's the point in this, mate? Don't you have
Yeah.
like a business to run or like work to do or like something more important than just like sending me long messages?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like confuses me as well. I'm like, maybe you like me, maybe you don't like me. And it's just like, do you like me? Do you not like me? And it just makes me a bit anxious. And if it makes me anxious, I obviously don't want to even speak with you ever again. So the second time I saw him, I was a bit cold and rude to him. He was like, hey, I'm like, hi, what's up? I'm like, nothing, just going out with my friends. So I was just being a bit rude to him because I felt very offended. And then he was like, hey, I'm so sorry. We were supposed to go out. Let's go out next week. And I'm just like, yeah, but you know what? I already lost interest. So it's like, ask her out, be confident. If you don't, she's obviously going to lose interest. There's no girls, at least me, I don't feel attracted to mysterious men. I don't feel attracted to men who are trying to play this game, who are trying to take it slow. I know what I want.
Yeah.
And And I think most women at this stage know exactly what they want. And if you don't show you are the one and that you're putting that effort in, they would lose interest very fast.
Right. So I agree that most women know more or less what they want, but I would also say that there's a big difference. Like your type is actually very unconventional. I think it's worth noting because it makes this more valuable. Like Blair's type isn't the typical. You don't have a typical type at all. She doesn't go for like tall, well built, like alpha males with beards. She doesn't go for the typical Chad looking guy. You go for like guys who are a little bit more boyish. They look young. They're a little bit less built often. They're more like a little more reserved and like not the massive extroverts that are like taking up the room. Not the typical like alpha male.
Yeah.
So it is worth noting because I think a lot of people just assume that you're talking about in all of these cases like some typically like guy that girls would go for, but it's not actually that at all. Like, what are the characteristics that you specifically like in a guy?
I mean, to be honest, yeah, I would say my type is a bit different. Like, I like my hubby to be a bit more
Lame.
Hubby to be
Lame.
more like a wifey. Like, I definitely need him to be more like shy and sweet, a little bit more introverted. Like, because I'm very extroverted and a bit like aggressive, a little bit more dominant. I feel attracted to someone exact opposite of me. So someone who would like to just stay in his room and read a book, someone who would like to cook, someone who is a bit more like not gonna go around and talk to all the girls, like exact opposite of me,
Right.
basically.
Okay, but a lot of guys will hear that and they'll think, yeah, okay, so you want that guy for security and like who's going to be nice to you and make your life easy. But then if you meet a guy who's more dominant and more typically sexy, is that guy going to overshadow him?
No.
Is it like you've got the provider who's nice and sweet and can give you the right things and take you on holiday, and then you've got the kind of like sexy bad boy who you'd go with? Is that the case for you or no? Be honest.
No. So if I had to choose between two guys, someone very hot, someone very handsome, extroverted, like like the popular, like say sports captain or rugby school captain from the school, and someone who's like a library geek, right? Who's just sitting and reading books all day, very sweet, very deep and intellectual, like very shy. I would go for the shy guy because that's just my type. I feel like because first of all, I work in sales. I'm very extroverted. I'm out there socializing all day, every day, talking to lots of people, having very stupid, meaningless conversations. When I come home, I want someone a bit more relaxed and calm, whom I can have like a deep, real conversation with, and like a relaxed person who's not going to be jumping around all the time. And also, I feel like because I'm super hyperactive, maybe I even have ADHD. I don't know. I need someone opposite who can take care of me. Because if someone's like me, it's not going to work. I definitely need someone more calm to take care of me.
No, I agree with that. But like, I also don't think you're the typical like, because a lot of guys will have these like stereotypes in their mind of like submissive being the extreme of submissiveness, just like a chick that will do whatever they say whenever they say it. She has no personality, no ideas, and then the dominant being just like a fucking bullbuster who's just like can be rude. Blah, blah, blah. You're not really like that because like our relationship as friends, it's very much like I'll drop you a message like Blair, come to the kitchen, and it's not like you're submissive in the sense that you'll do whatever I say. You absolutely won't. But you're also like up for anything and you're happy to be like if I have an idea and I want to do it, you're gonna be like, yeah, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you're not like typical kind of domineering, dominant, like I guess like that typical conception of an alpha. You've got both sides. Like you can actually follow and like come along for the ride, but you also like no, you're not the typical conception of that. So I think it's just important to make that distinction because you're not a typical like just dominant woman. Because most guys have a very generalized idea of like the submissive and the dominant, and I don't think you really fit into that category because with your friends you're definitely not in any way dominant, but then with the guys that you choose to be in relationships with, you tend to go for slightly more on the submissive side. Guys,
Submissive, maybe more like dominant. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's true, to be honest.
Yeah, you tend to go for slightly more submissive guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, to be honest, I think that's true. I feel like I'm very like accommodating person. Like I love spending time with all my friends, trying different activities and different things. And as long as they ask me for something in a nice, sweet, respectful manner, I always say yes. I only get aggressive when I feel like someone's being a bit like trying to control me or dictate or tell me what to do. Um, So yeah, Sam's definitely right about that. And then when it comes to guys, I feel like I don't mind taking the lead in the relationship. Like I don't mind planning everything for us, like say where we would live, where to go on a date. I don't know what kind of furniture to have in the house, what kind of budget we want to spend on our dates. Like I don't mind taking the lead. I mean, I kind of like taking a lead because I know exactly what I want with my life, like financially, career wise, social wise. So I feel like if a guy's more flexible and trying to adjust more to what I want, I would like it. But at the same time, if there's something that he wants from me, I'm very flexible and happy to accommodate and make that compromise as well. But that kind of brings me back to my point, like that you're right. I kind of date a guy's a bit more towards like the submissive side because I feel like my ex was a little bit like that. So he was more like submissive, shy, and introverted. And I felt like we had a serious communication issue there because it's like I told him exactly what I wanted from him and what I wanted from this relationship and what I want from a day to day, like where to hang out, where to go out, like what to do, just basic things like that. And I thought because he never complained or said anything and just went along with it, I just assumed that he wanted exactly what I wanted because we never
Yeah.
had a fight or an argument, never, not once, until one day we had a big argument and we broke up. And until that day I didn't really know that he was doing all of these things for me, because in those months that we went out he didn't complain once or communicate to me that he didn't actually want these things and he was just doing it for me. And I'm just like, you never told me that, so you can blame me all you want, but it just feels like you like playing the victim, and you like blaming the other person, but it's your fault. You have to take responsibility for yourself because it was never communicated to me. I was just,
Right. So, but do
yeah.
you not think that that's a part of the issue? Is that if you're going for guys who are more on the submissive side, it's not necessarily that. It could be that they're just a little bit afraid to express themselves confidently. Like it's not that they are just naturally like that. It's like they don't have maybe the courage to express themselves clearly and to say what they want. And so a lot of the communication problems are from the fact that they're not submissive by nature. It's that they don't have the courage to express themselves clearly. I have a question that I'm curious about. Do you think you go for that type of guy because you haven't met a guy who is dominant, assertive, he knows what he wants, but he also respects you and he's also kind to you and sweet to you? Do you think if you met a guy that like wanted to lead you, wanted to be strong, wanted to be that like man for you, but he was also actually just kind and good and wanted what's best for you, do you think you're almost going for these guys because all of the strong, let's say strong men, dominant men that you've met have been assholes?
Not really. I did like recently the guy I dated after my ex. So recently the guy I had a bit of a thing with, and I've known him since high school. We went traveling together as well. I would say he's the kind of guy who has a lot to say. Like, so we went traveling together to an island, and he clearly had an idea what he wanted to do for a holiday, right? He actually just wanted to go to bars and clubs and drink and party, which is fine. Try out lots of restaurants and food, just chill and relax and have a laid back, lazy holiday. So he clearly knew what he want. I clearly like he knew what he wanted and he communicated it well to me. But what I wanted was something very different. I wanted more like just go to the beach, swim, scuba dive. Didn't want to drink at all. Wanted to go back to bed early at 10 and wake up at like 5 to see the sunset.
Right.
So we had very different ideas on how we wanted this holiday to be. He wasn't dominant. He was a friendly, sweet guy who just clearly communicated what he wanted, which is perfect. But at the same time I felt like we didn't do what he wanted. I mean, I tried. I went to a few bars and clubs with him for a night or two, but then I was exhausted after that. And after that I was just like, fuck that, you know what, I paid so much for this holidays, I'm just going to go swim. So either I'm going to go alone or you come with me, that's your choice. So then it just kind of became like you either do it my way or it's just like the highway kind of the situation.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
again him suffering from not being able to lead in an effective way. Like figure out what you want to do, learn what you want to do, and then be able to say, right, let's go do that. Let's get up early and swim. Because like the right guy would learn what you want to do, accommodate that, and then lead you in that direction because he wants to lead.
But to be honest, he did, because he did say like, "Hey, let's go early for a swim." But after we're done with the swim, let's go what I want to do, which is basically go to a bar and drink.
Mhm.
And I don't really like drinking on a holiday because I feel like I do that anyway in London. So when I want to go on a holiday, I don't want to drink. I'm kind of weird that way. So he kind of was trying to find the middle ground.
Right.
But because he was trying to fill the middle ground, and I had to make that compromises. I did it for one night, two night, three night. But then on the fourth day, I was like, you know what, man, you're not the one, because I can compromise for 3, 4 days. But after that, I'm like, I just want to find someone who exactly wants what I want. And after that, I feel like we actually did have kind of a heated conversation and a fight. And he ended up apologizing, and then we ended up doing what I wanted anyway.
But it shouldn't need to be like that, right?
Yeah.
Blair, we're going to do this in 2 parts. So I'm going to end the stream now. Thanks, guys, for watching, because I have some information to tell you. So this was on